Hello, my name is Mark Isham. I wanted to introduce you to the MarkClaw project. Not a very original name, I know. I've been playing around with OpenClaw quite a bit over the last couple weeks, as half the world seems to have been doing right now. And I wanted to put together some content and some utilities and some skills for OpenClaw that might be helpful. And I've been anchoring on running it on Google Cloud. I saw a lot of setup, literature and videos out there around setting up OpenClaw, but not much focused on Google Cloud. So I thought that could be an interesting angle here. Running and more importantly, running in a secure VM. As I record this about a week ago, NVIDIA dropped NemoClaw, which is their kind of Docker-based solution for securing OpenClaw on your own, infrastructure, using their OpenShell and using Docker to secure the ingress, egress, and file access and all that. But it's pretty early. It's pretty early going. It's alpha. I tried playing around with it, and there's just a lot of rough edges on it. So I wanted to wait a little bit till that gets a little bit more refined. But I figured, why not? Like everyone's setting up OpenClaw on Mac Minis, why not set it up on a VM that's even easier and cheaper, and you can have total control over what gets in and what gets out. So this first video is going to walk through what I learned setting up OpenClaw on a GCP VM running Gemini 2.5 Flash for the model, cloud-based. And then in a subsequent video, I'm going to talk about a skill that I added to actually pull information from my Twitter feed and summarize it for stock market analysis. Like, is the market bullish, bearish? What's the latest news, that sort of thing. So I thought that was an interesting real-world use case for how this can be used. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go into this setup doc that I included in the repo. So we're not going to read this line by line. You're going to follow along, but you can, when you watch this video, you can follow it line by line. It was kind of an interesting exercise for me to go through. I actually had Claude Code. I prompted Claude Code to walk me through step by step the setup and create this document as we were going through step by step, and then I would refine it with Claude Code. When things didn't work, or I wanted to configure it a little bit differently, or if there's something else I wanted to add. So it was kind of an evolving document, which was kind of a fun exercise to go through, and I think a good way of doing this as well, because you're basically saving the context of what worked from your session to this durable markdown file, and then committing it to Git at regular intervals, when it's at a stage that is useful. And then I continue to iterate on that and build it over time. So it's kind of working with a collaborator on building this document to make sure it's accurate. So that was kind of fun. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So let's go into the Google Cloud Console, go into the project of your choice, and then we want to go and create a VM. So we can go to Compute Engine here, go to VM Instances, and then we just create an instance. I'm going to call it MarkClaw. Pick whatever region and zone is of interest to you. I was playing around with E2 instances of size, let me look it up here, I think it was a small. E2 small, which is a pretty bare bones instance. See, like, we're only being charged $13 a month here. And I found that was actually for the basic use cases I was doing, that was quite enough. If you're doing heavier lifting on your VM, obviously you might want to pad that up with a little bit more horsepower, but that costs more, right? And the whole goal here is to not spend a lot of money. As an aside, I also noticed, I was playing around with Olama to try to install local language models on the VM to see if I could save even more money. But I think you really need to run the economics to see if that makes sense for you. While local models do have the benefit of all your data being resident within your own control, I found that I needed actually pretty decent horsepower on the VM to run those models, at least if the parameter counts are high enough to make them useful for OpenClaw, and OpenClaw has some pretty beefy needs for the parameter counts. So I was ending up running instances that were, estimated to be $150 a month or so, which kind of defeats the purpose of saving that money. So if it was a much more economical for me, at least, to use the paid Gemini API key, which is just pennies a day, for the usage I was having. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate here, but that is an option, of course. There's a lot of flexibility here. For OS, let's go and change that to Ubuntu, and this is the configuration that worked for me. 24, this is documented as well. Let me make sure I got the one. 2404 LTS x86. Yes. Size, let's give it a little extra size. After all the installation was done for me, it was about 5 gig or so. So yeah, you could get away with less, but that's just too, disk space is so cheap, and it's so, why worry about running up against that margin if you're gonna install some packages? So let's bump it up just a little bit. Everything else defaults. Like, notice the firewall is not allowing any traffic in, and that's by design. We don't need that. I think we have everything we need configured here, so let's go ahead and create it. And this will take 30 seconds or so. So while that's going, I'm gonna get my copy paste buffer ready here so we can connect it to this instance. So I highly recommend using the Google Cloud CLI for interacting with this instance. It's so much easier. Or you can use Cloud Console through the interface as well if you want. But I thought CLI is actually kind of useful for making SSH tunnels very easy as well. So if you want to interact through a web browser, for example, which we will show later on, it's pretty easy to do through the CLI to do that. Okay, we got this running. Let's give it a second. I noticed from my experience, if you hop right on the instance as soon as it says it's ready, it's not ready. It's still initializing. So let's give it a few more seconds, and I'll tee up the terminal. Okay, I'm in my project. Okay, hopefully it's ready by now. Let's see. Yes, we are in. Okay, so now we need to start setting this sucker up. So the first step is update all the system packages. So apply the latest security updates. So this is going to take a minute or so. In the directions I have, getting your Gemini API key earlier than this. It really doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you do it before the OpenClaw setup runs. I'm going to do that during the OpenClaw setup itself, because that takes a while. So we'll let that run in the background, and then it might even have to pause the video, because it takes like 5 to 10 minutes sometimes to run through all that. And you don't need to sit here watching my terminal for all of that. Anyways, let's give this a second to go through. Should be done shortly. I'll talk more about the skill. In the next video, I'm going to talk about a skill that I created, which is basically just a markdown file and some Python code that actually calls in to the Twitter API. And we'll get API credentials, and we'll be able to access it that way. So no web browser is needed for that. And it's kind of an interesting exercise to create your own skill. I mean, you can go to Claw Hub and download a skill, but that makes me a little nervous. I don't want to download random skills off the internet that I haven't looked at the code myself to see what vulnerabilities come from that. So and this at least gives you tight control over exactly what you're installing. Okay, we're almost done here. That last 1%. Come on, stay on target. Stay on target. All right, we should be done any second now. How's the weather where you are right now? I hope you're having a good day. I wish I could whistle. Okay, we're almost done here. Oh, come on, you said you were done. Okay, we are done with the patches, and now we are going to download and install OpenClaw. This will take a little while. So while this is going, the directions have going to Gemini, AI Studio, use your Google account here and get an API key. Up here to create a key, name it. Okay. If you're not already set for billing, I would highly recommend you do set it up. The free tier is very limited. I found I was hitting rate limits very quickly on that, and that was very annoying. The billing tier is not super expensive. It's pennies, you know, for the usage I was doing. Obviously, usage limits apply differently to everyone. If you're using quite a bit, it could run up more, but to me, that was still a lot cheaper than paying for a big VM to run a local model. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this API key, which we will need for later. For anyone security conscious watching this, I'm going to delete this key after I record this video, so don't try to be clever and use my API key, because that will no longer exist. But for now, we're just going to put it right there. Okay. And then I'm going to pause the video because this is going to take 5 to 10 minutes, and you don't need to sit here listening to me talk about the weather for 5 minutes. So we'll come back when this is done. Okay, we're back. That took actually closer to 10 minutes. It took a while. So when you run it, just get some coffee and come back. The download kicked off the installer. So we're going to go ahead and select yes and actually kick this off. And we're going to do kind of the bare bones minimal installer here. Obviously, you can customize this more later to see your needs there. All right, so we're going to quick start. We did say we're going to use Gemini, so select Google, use API key, and now we're going to take that API key that we just created, copy, paste. Let that go through. I was testing with 2.5 Flash, was working pretty well. Obviously, choose the model that works best for you. I think the higher models will cost more, but they will work better too, so it's your decision. All right. I like to use WhatsApp. You don't have to select a channel here. This is how you're going to communicate with OpenClaw remotely, and locally too. But I think it's a pretty core use case, so I thought it might be good to walk through that as well. A lot of people use Telegram. I like WhatsApp, so we'll just show how that works really quick. And okay, so it's going to show a QR code on your mobile device in WhatsApp, which I can't show in this video, obviously, but I can talk you through it. You're going to pull up WhatsApp, and you're going to go to your settings, which is bottom right tab, hit linked devices, and then link a device. And it's going to give a little QR scan interface, which I'm doing right now. There, and it linked it. And then, yes, this is my personal phone number. For my own privacy sake, I'm going to pause the video while I type this in and unpause it as soon as it's done. So just put your own personal phone number in here. Okay, I'm back. That finished, and I selected to skip installing skills right now because we're going to do that more later. And now we're going to go through the rest of the options here. We're going to skip hooks. We're basically going to skip almost everything here. I'm going to skip this as well. Again, we're doing a bare bones install here. This should be almost done. Okay, we're done. So now you need to update your path to make sure OpenClaw is found in there. So that command will do that. And then now we can issue this command to just make sure everything's working. All right, it is. All right, so now there's a few different ways of interacting with the default model. There's a terminal interface that you can do directly through here. You can use their admin UI, and you can use the channel that you configured WhatsApp. So I'm going to show a couple of those. The admin app's pretty interesting because there's a lot of functionality there. I don't pretend to understand all of it, but some of it's pretty interesting to look at. So if you run this command, it will actually show you a URL that you can use with a security token to access that. Now, since we are running on the VM, we have to create a tunnel first. So let's create a new terminal window here. And this is where the CLI comes in very handy. probably copy paste. So we're going to create a tunnel. Okay, and that should be running. We're going to go back and we're going to copy paste this URL. And then we're going to go to our browser and pray that this works. Yes, it did. Okay, we're in. And now, for example, you can see we can chat here. So, hello, MarkClaw. And it should, if everything's set up correctly, it should be working. Yep, and it's there. And then also, if you look at, if you have WhatsApp, so on my phone, but also I can show you on my desktop version here. I don't want to show all my prior chats, so I'm being coy here. You can also interact here as well. Call me Mark. And it should hopefully be interacting with our chat session. Yep. And you can customize it. Your name is MarkClaw, and you are a jovial, friendly butler. All right, and of course, since this is WhatsApp, you can do that on the run, you know, from your phone. Let me show you one other way of interacting with it. So you can do the terminal interface here. Obviously, that means you have to be connected into the VM to do that, which is not always convenient. But if you're directly in the terminal, that's another way of doing it too. Let's exit out of that. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. So that shows a basic install up and running. So in the next video, I'm actually going to do something useful and install a Twitter skill. So let's go ahead and end this video, and I'll see you in the next one.